Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Episode. Today we're continuing the series, Naomi Super Happy Fun Time, because I couldn't think of a better title, and if you can't tell already, we're playing Capcom vs SNK Millennium Fight 2000 today. And for brevity's sake, I'm just going to refer to it as Capcom vs SNK moving forward. This has two of my favorite things in arcade gaming, 2D fighting games and SNK characters, and while this was developed by Capcom and it pains me to admit it, this is definitely a much better effort than SVC Chaos on the SNK developed side. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Now I am going to be showing you some Capcom characters as well, even though my instinct is just to play as SNK characters, so we get a little bit more diversity in the footage. But honestly, I love this game from start to finish. And it is down to the pure 2D aspect of it. The background art, the character sprites, both on the SNK and Capcom side, just look absolutely spectacular. This is one of the prettiest 2D games on the Naomi and Dreamcast in my opinion. But if you got a different opinion, certainly leave it down below. I love chat with you guys about it. But this is just everything I want out of a fighting game. I love these mashup games, and I was so excited for SVC Chaos when SNK announced it, and it just kind of let me down. So having a game like this and its replacement just 100% does it for me. Now of course it is a Capcom developed game, so a lot of the fighting game mechanics and the overall feel is definitely going to hew more towards the Capcom side and less towards the SNK side, which means I'm not as good as playing it my here as I would be on an SNK developed game. It just has a little bit different of a cadence that I don't 100% click with, but that's a me fault, not a game fault. But this game just has so much charm and character. I think this is some of the best work on backgrounds Capcom has ever done in certain spots. Some ones I don't think are as good as others. But this stage right here, Terry against Ken, with these real-time shadows animating in the background, it's just such a spectacle to behold. You can tell the developers at Capcom absolutely loved making this game and wanted to represent their brand and their developers so well while using the SNK characters. The fighting game mechanics are top-notch, the 2D artwork and graphics are amazing, all of the different effects, the shadows, and the little finishing touches and flair that get put into this game just take it to make it feel something so special. And however you played this game, if you somehow never played it before, definitely check it out. Now I am showing you some of the shadow work here, but I will say, at least on normal difficulty, the AI in this game can be a little bit brain dead. It's going to just kind of stand there. This is a game, just like pretty much any other fighting game, that's going to be made so much better by an actual real-world opponent. Get this at your next fighting game night, get some people around some arcade sticks, and you're going to have a ton of fun. Now I went from one of my favorite stages in the game to one of my least favorites. I do like the colorways and the golden hour sunset here, but there just isn't that much going on in the background that really draws my eye. So I would say the only strike I have against a game like this is every once in a while it doesn't 100% inspire me with its background artwork. But the mechanics 100% do it for me. Playing as Chun-Li right here, my standard go-to character. If I am playing a Capcom game, it's fast, it's responsive, because of course it is. It's made by the same team that handled all of the Street Fighter, so you know you're going to get something good and unique. And that's the fun part. Back in the day, SNK and Capcom were going toe-to-toe with 2D fighting game releases. Sure, SNK made more, but Capcom made them just as good, just in lesser numbers. So when people heard that there was going to be a mashup, everyone was super excited. And this game, upon delivery, just did it for everybody. And even today, so many years later, decades in fact, it still feels new and fresh. If you release this game today and just scaled it up to 1080p, didn't even do anything but leave everything pixelated, it would probably be getting 9s and 10s across the board. And while I do love Street Fighter 6, it is a lot of fun. If I want to play a Capcom fighting game, I'm still going to go back to the late 90s and early 2000s generation, because that's where I think Capcom did some of their best work, and the 2D aspect still works for me so much more than any of the 2D Street Fighter games that use 3D models. I just think the charm didn't translate as well into full 3D, but tell me what you think down below. I don't say these things just to be controversial, they are just kind of my feels. But of course it's a Capcom game, so we can go down the checklist and check off all the boxes. Amazing 2D sprite work, 100%. Great backgrounds for the most part, and one of those amazing Capcom soundtracks that you got in the late 90s and early 2000s. So go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds, and I'll be right back.
One, fight.
Just some absolutely classic music right there, and we go right into my favorite stage in the game, this under construction dojo with all of the different woodworks around it. It just looks so pretty and unique to my eyes. And the fun thing about this game too is it basically marries the best parts about Capcom and the best parts about SNK together, making something that really does just feel special, from the control scheme and the amount of buttons it uses to the different groove meters versus SNK or Capcom. You really can set this game up to play the way you want. If you come from a Capcom background, you can definitely make it feel more like a Capcom game, and if you come from an SNK background, you can do absolutely the same thing. But again, let's just move over to the sequel to this game that's going to take things in a more 3D perspective. While the sprites still look great, it just loses the charm when it goes into the 3D realm. It doesn't have the same sensation of just that beautiful artwork that you get when you have that hand-drawn 2D background. And if we move back into the original game right here, the sense of detail, scale, and otherwise just works for me so much better. I understand that 3D was all the rage, and I can't blame Capcom's artists and developers for wanting to go in that direction, but for me, the pure 2D fighting games, 2D backgrounds, 2D sprites, with just a little bit of 3D for the KO there is the sweet spot as far as the artistic style is concerned. And now we're going to move on to the first boss fight you'll see in the game. I'll show you another one against Geese, and I will say that this is the easiest fight against him you're ever going to have in any fighting game. Normally if you're playing an SNK game and he shows up as the boss, you need to be prepared to 100% lose credit after credit until you can learn all of the patterns and kind of cheese him a little bit. For some reason here at the normal difficulty level, it just doesn't really bother me whatsoever. I was able to beat him my first go around, and that is not something that I can usually say about Geese when it's in an SNK game whatsoever. But again, this is just the type of game that was made for fans. Capcom and SNK knew that their diehard fans would play a game like this, and mashups are always big, whether it's in gaming, movies, entertainment. Putting two properties together and seeing what comes out in the end has always been a thing, and it's always going to continue to be a thing, and I hope one day we see another Capcom versus SNK, or an SNK versus Capcom. The company at the front's the game maker that developed the title. And of course you do get some story. It's not the most comprehensive thing, and I'm showing it to you in Japanese, so you probably don't understand it whatsoever, but it is a relatively decent storyline. If you follow either SNK or Street Fighter's properties, you'll understand how they kind of mash up. But I like this new artwork created as well, as Geese falls off this building here. Kind of has some Nakatomi Tower vibes. If that's not Hans Gruber, I don't know who it is, but maybe just because this is close to Christmas and I'm recording this, yes, that's true, I'm thinking Die Hard. But let's give you one more sample of the soundtrack. I love this next track here, and I'll come back and tell you a little more about the game, but enjoy. Super intense track, and that makes sense. This is going to be the boss stage on the Capcom side of things, and I do like how all of the sprites marry up together as well, but I think SNK did a little bit better when they redrew some of the sprites for SVC Chaos. I've always loved the SNK art style slightly more than I have the Capcom art style, but that's not to take anything away from Capcom. It's just a personal preference. I love SNK's character design just that much more, but I'm assuming I'm going to see a lot of comments down below telling me I'm wrong, and that's totally fair, because Capcom fighting games versus SNK fighting game is going to be a debate among fighting game fans long after this video goes live, and long after I'm probably dead. People will still be debating this if the two companies are still making fighting games. But of course you get a lot of fun cutscene on the Capcom side as well, and that's the thing about this game. It is just so fully featured, and there are revisions as well. I'm just going with the base game because that's the one I've played the most. You got an awesome character roster, and unfortunately there was apparently some cuts. Leon Kennedy was supposed to be in this game and didn't make it, and that would have been a lot of fun seeing him as well. But however you play this game, if you've never done it before, definitely check it out. And if it's been years since you've played it, I definitely recommend you revisit it. It's got great fun, it's got great music, great artwork, and it has a really good story as well. I love these news cutscenes. They just make me really happy to watch them. You can tell here Geese Howard, who just fell off the roof, is definitely going to be sorely missed. Short of that, 10 out of 10 game. I absolutely love it. I've got more Naomi coming soon, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.